Today I'll introduce you to my Molot Vepr 1V-E. This particular model is also known as the Vepr Mini, and this is based on the RPK. And the RPK is the light machine gun version of the AK family. This one's called the Mini because its barrel length of 44.2 centimeters is quite a bit shorter than the regular RPK barrel length of 59 centimeters. First, I would like to show you the differences between regular pattern AKs and the RPK, and then I'll talk about the upgrades I did to this particular rifle and explain my thought process behind it. The most distinguishing feature of the RPK, at least from afar, is the form of the buttstock. It has this so-called Clubfoot style buttstock, which enables you to do the following. Basically, if you're lying down in a prone position, you can put your other hand here to stabilize it. So while lying down, this is really nice. And that's what you are looking for when you're firing an LMG from a prone position. So in comparison, just to have a look, this is the regular AK buttstock. This is the RPK one. It is quite a bit shorter actually, and has a very distinguishing form. Other than that, it is very AK-like, as you would assume. You have your cleaning kit in the back here. You have a folding mechanism, just like any AK-100 series would. So you press down on this button, you can fold the buttstock to the side. This doesn't work if you have an optic attached, as usual. And it actually locks in place, so this is now locked. To unlock, you have another button here. You press down on this button and you can unfold the buttstock like so. So the second big visual giveaway that this is an RPK would be the barrel length. Since we have the mini version here, it is quite comparable to another AK rifle, but there's one big difference that you can tell if you have a closer look. That now having those two barrels next to each other, the thickness, the diameter here is quite wider, as you might be able to tell, and this is due to it having the function as a light machine gun. You need a heftier barrel, which will be able to sustain a rate of fire way longer than thinner barrel. Interestingly enough, newer versions of the AK, starting with the AK-74, use the 90-degree gas port, while the RPK still uses the 45-degree, such as the AKM. I'm sure there's a design reason behind this. Just something to point out. Coming from the gas ports, let's have a look at the muzzle device. This muzzle device is actually pinned and fixed to the barrel itself. Once again, probably due to German laws. I'm not quite sure, but this muzzle device is a flash hider. It actually does a pretty okay job for its size. It's very compact. And since the barrel is rather heavy, you don't need a compensator at all. It's 5.56 after all, so it does its job very well. But at one point I would like to remove it to be able to get a thread on this barrel and attach other kinds of fun accessories. The fourth difference with RPK is the sights, and unfortunately, since this is an export model and this came originally from Germany, so it was imported there, we unfortunately have this, let's say, neutered version of the rear sight lift, which only goes out to 300 meters because somehow that's part of the regulation. But that's not the point I want to show you. The point is that in the RPK you have this windage you can adjust, so you can pull out this thing and turn it. So now, as you can see, the rear sight lift is moving to the right. You can adjust the windage according to the current situation of wind and any other factors. So interesting design of the rear sight leaf. Those were the, let's say, external differences. Now let's look at the internals. The left side we have the AK-100 series dust cover, the right side the Vepr Mini, and the only difference is this little cutout here, which we don't have on the 100 series. That's to accommodate the bulge and the thicker receiver basically. Other than that, it is quite the same. If we look at the recoil spring, here we have the AK-100 series. Don't mind the buffer here, but here we have in the middle 2 joints that hook like this, and you can have a look at my video where I take this apart and give you some tricks. But on the RPK, next to it having the same length and the same back piece, it has quite of a different system, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell on camera. Here you basically, if you push on the whole thing, it telescopes, so it has a telescoping mechanism, and that's kind of a different animal than the regular AK. Now if we look at the bolt carrier, here we have the regular AK, here we have the RPK. There is not really a difference on the bolt itself. It's not heftier or anything, has the same locking lunges, so it's an AK after all. The bolt carrier itself, very similar in design, so no changes there. Also the gas piston itself has the same length, at least for the mini version. I'm not so sure about the full version. So now let's look inside of the receiver. As you can tell, the RPK is quite a bit thicker. The trunnion is slightly different, but other than that, the internals are, after all, an AK. So now that you've seen the differences between the RPK and the AK, I will point out the upgrades I did to this particular rifle. The first thing I wanted to do, since it's an LMG after all, I wanted to get a bipod. So I had a barrel clamp up here and the folding bipod like so, but this just messes with the ergonomics and doesn't really work out for short barrel rifles. So if you want to see something where it worked, make sure to check out my FL video so you'll know what I'm talking about. So a new solution had to be found, and the solution is this vertical front grip from the Swiss company B&T, and it has a trick up its sleeve. If I pinch here, it extends and acts as a pretty good bipod actually. So let me show you how that works. I can now put it on the bipod and it stands very well. It is not as good as a full-sized bipod, but it has enough clearance since it's quite long, even for thick magazines like so. I can lie down shooting and get good hits without having a rest on the handguard or some kind of other utensil under the barrel. Another reason why I really like these B&T front grips is their QD mechanism, so I can push on this and lift the tab and quickly detach them. So in order to facilitate this bipod slash front grip, I had to get a new lower handguard which has Picatinny, and for this I had to remove the grooved RPK style lower handguard. It looks exactly the same, since that doesn't have any attachment points for accessories. So I went with this Zenitco B20, and it was quite a pain in the ass to get it to fit, but now it fits like a glove. And I also have an attachment point for another Picatinny accessory, a flashlight here, currently not in use, so I covered it, so it's nice and comfy to hold. The next upgrade was, as I do with all of my AKs, the extended charging lever. It's just very comfy if you have gloves on, or generally if you do high-speed reloads, you have something to grip on. It's textured and a bit bigger, so very essential upgrade on any AK. The next upgrade was magazine capacity. So it comes out of the box with a 10-round magazine, which isn't an option, so thanks Germany for that. Then I checked out some aftermarket mags. Basically, there's a Pro Mag from the States, and they're abysmal. Don't waste your money or time with them. Then I got my hands on Puff Gun. They work very well. I have a separate video on those 223 mags for AKs in general. Puff Gun can highly recommend. And then also I got my hands on AC Unity. They have 45er and 60 rounders. The 60 rounder doesn't feed reliably, so that's not really an option. And in my opinion, it's too long for use even with a bipod, so it really hampers the ergonomics. Maybe the classical Plum 45 round mags would work, but I don't really like the extended length. Drum mags have their own separate problems. So in my opinion, 45er is the way to go. And they have a nice side effect. They have the same, let's say, height, which is really great. They're just a bit thicker since they're quad stacked, but this really does the trick. You get 15 more rounds and you don't have any drawbacks when it comes to ergonomics, other than weight, obviously. The next thing I modified was the pistol grip. As you might know if you watch my videos, I really can't stand the regular AK pistol grips, so that's why I either change them or I use grip tape, which then fixes all the problems I have. So it adds more girth, which is important for bigger hands. It gives you a really nice contact point, and it's sweat absorbent, so that's what grip tape's made for. And this fixes all my issues while keeping the kind of AK aesthetic, which I really do like in the end. On any rifle, a sling is a very essential upgrade, as you might know. But on the RPK, it's very essential to have a padded one, since it has quite its weight. So it is about 200 to 300 grams heavier than your regular AK with the same barrel length, due to it having a thicker barrel and a thicker receiver. So in order to accommodate that extra weight, I highly recommend to get a very padded sling that just distributes the weight on your shoulders a bit better. I used the rear mounting point that is given with the buttstock, and in the front I use the mounting point of the Senico Handguard, which is very nice. I used some paracord so I don't have metal on metal while mounting it, so it doesn't make noise and rattles. Last but not least, I picked this optic for the rifle. It is the PK1 from the company NPZ, also known as the Obsor optic. And it uses the AK side rail, which is obviously a good fit for any AK. And it's a very interesting design. So it has tritium inlets, so it works at dusk or at no light conditions if you have a weapon light, basically. But what it does during the day in order to illuminate is it collects sunlight here and redirects it. So you don't need any battery, but you actually have an illuminated target during the day and using tritium during the night. And it has this very interesting feature. So you basically have this lever which changes internally a filter. So if it has lots of sunlight, you can use the filter and you get a purple tint. And if it has less sunlight, you can remove the filter to get more light through the optic and actually see the target better. So it's a very, very interesting design. It works pretty well. It's quite heavy. But it suits the motto of this rifle, which is already very heavy. But it looks rugged and actually is very comfy to shoot. Since it's rather high up, it actually works with the buttstock very well. So those are all the upgrades I did to this rifle. My goal was to extend its capabilities as a LMG, and for that it obviously needed a bipod. I was able to get some bigger magazine capacity, and having all the creature comforts like the grip, the sling, and the charging lever, obviously. While adding this optic, it just helps you to acquire targets faster, even at low light situations. So it's a very capable package while still being rather compact. Rifle I really like to shoot. It is very smooth, and it's a good workout for sure to carry it. So if you have any questions, let me know. And as always, stay safe and have fun.